That's the rule. The rule in our house is any boy that's an ex, he's now my ex too. I must hate him like we was dating. Look, man, when your kids grow up, look, man, they can make decisions on their own. I'm just happy that I can at least approve of one.
You didn't approve of the previous shooters?
Nothing ever. Ever. Pure hatred.
I get it. I understand.
By the end of 2020, Michael B. Jordan was already running the game in Hollywood. He came through heavy with Creed and Creed 2, then shut everything down in Black Panther back in 2018 as Killmonger. Yeah, that role had people talking non-stop. Folks were calling him one of the biggest rising leading men out there, no debate. And just to stack it up even more, he grabbed People's Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive title that same year, like he really had the spotlight locked in. That kind of momentum opened new doors for him, letting Michael B. Jordan step into producing and eventually directing too, which we saw later with Creed 3. He wasn't just acting anymore, he was building something bigger behind the scenes. But even with all that success, there was one thing about him that had people curious, something a little different about how he moved.
Michael B. Jordan and Steve Harvey. There's a picture, I'll just show you this picture real quick.
Yeah, I've seen that video, yeah.
It's them hugging.
Yeah.
So there's like 4 quote tweets of potentially what Steve Harvey is saying to Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, go.
You know you're still my son. Laugh my ass off, old folks don't care.
Oh.
She said his name is Damson. I told her, but where's my damn son?
He kept his life on the low, real quiet and focused. Michael B. Jordan stayed locked into his craft, all about work, barely any noise about who he was dating or seeing. While others was outside chasing headlines, he stayed in his zone, putting in work and leveling up in the film world. But you know how life goes. Sometimes one person steps in and flips everything you thought you were doing. And for him, that person was Lori Harvey. Lori Harvey was moving totally different from Michael B. Jordan, like night and day. She built her name as a model and influencer, known for high-end fashion campaigns and a strong social media presence that always had people watching. Her world leaned more into celebrity lifestyle and image, while Michael was stacked with acting credits, awards, and that serious Hollywood grind. 2 completely different lanes, no question.
No, when you think about it, we were just surprised at the relationship because he was the most sought-after bachelor.
That's right.
We just love him. I think he represents a wonderful man in our culture, especially when it comes to movies and presenting himself. But that's all we know now. You on the real. So what makes your relationship so special?
We just really balance each other. And I really do believe in this statement, when they say, when you know, you know.
But you already know what people say, opposites attract. And that exact mix is what pulled Michael B. Jordan right into Lori Harvey's circle, including her stepfather, Steve Harvey. Now, this wasn't just some casual link-up either. Steve Harvey started becoming a real mentor figure to Michael, and their bond got tight over time. It even got to the point where they were hitting the gym together side by side. And let's be real, when you hitting the gym with your girlfriend's father like that, especially in the black community, people start reading between the lines real quick. That kind of connection usually means things aren't just casual. It starts looking serious fast. Some people were already talking like wedding bills might be coming soon. Yeah, that's how serious it was starting to look. A lot of folks in the community were rooting for him heavy, expecting things to go all the way. But then, out of nowhere, it all fell apart. Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey ended up going their separate ways, and from how it looked, people felt like she made the call. After the breakup, Lori Harvey was later linked to Damson Idris, while Michael B. Jordan stayed focused and kept elevating, doing what he always does in Hollywood. Both of them kept moving forward, but the conversation around their split never really died down. Now here's where things got interesting again. I wasn't even planning to make this video, just scrolling through Twitter like normal, when a clip popped up of Steve Harvey speaking on Lori Harvey's dating choices. And let's just say, what he said had people paying close attention.
How difficult has it been to see Lori date now?
It's hard, man. I ain't even gonna lie, it's hard. I've had to swallow some things, And I feel for her because she's in the public. She's a brand ambassador, so she makes a really good living promoting products, wearing clothes, jewelry, makeup, skincare line, bikini line. I got it. But man, See, I gotta be real careful because Lori, boy, she be in my ass.
In the clip, he basically admitted there are certain things he just has to accept. He hinted that she's been making some mistakes and is still figuring things out, which definitely got people talking. But here's the part that really had people raising eyebrows. Steve Harvey hinted that things got so awkward after the breakup, he couldn't even shake Michael B. Jordan's hand anymore. Yeah, it got that uncomfortable. Now, publicly, Steve Harvey still seemed to have respect for Michael B. Jordan, which had people thinking there wasn't any clear sign that Michael did Lori Harvey wrong. That made the situation even more confusing. At the same time, it looked like Lori didn't want any kind of connection between Steve and Michael after the split. That kind of distance had folks assuming there was some real tension there, even if nobody fully explained it. So people started reading into it, wondering what really went down behind closed doors. Something clearly shifted, and it wasn't just a normal, clean breakup in the public eye. Meanwhile, Michael B. Jordan kept leveling up in his career, stacking major wins and staying locked into his path, while Lori Harvey continued navigating her dating life and staying active in the spotlight. Now, this is where the conversation starts getting real messy. People began asking, why does it seem like Lori Harvey can't stay in a long-term relationship? And then, out of nowhere, fingers started pointing at Steve Harvey. Yeah, her own stepfather. That claim alone had people shocked. Some were even saying it's completely Steve Harvey's influence that played a role in how things turned out. According to that perspective, Lori may have walked away from one of the most solid relationships she had, and that decision had people talking heavy. They were looking at Michael B. Jordan like he was a rare kind of partner, someone hard to come across twice.
I can't make no mistakes. I can't make sense. I saw one of her exes somewhere at a game somewhere, and I shook his hand. Boy, I can't even touch his ass no more. I better not acknowledge him or look at him or nothing no more. So I'm off limits. If you are ex, your ass is my ex too.
Now let's be clear, it's not like Steve Harvey was out here doing anything obviously wrong. In fact, by most accounts, he was trying to guide and support in the best way he knew how. But sometimes, even well-meaning advice can have unexpected effects, and that's where people start connecting dots and asking questions. There was this woman in a clip saying she didn't like how she grew up being overly taken care of, claiming it made things harder for her later on. She said all she really learned was how to rely on others for support, and that sparked a whole debate online. Now, to be clear, that situation doesn't directly match Lori Harvey's story. It doesn't seem fair to say she hasn't worked for what she has, or that she isn't putting in effort. That's not really the point here. What this does bring up, though, is a bigger conversation that people keep circling back to. It's about how certain dynamics growing up can shape expectations in relationships later on. And yeah, this is something a lot of men have started talking about, especially when it comes to being very involved, supportive fathers to their daughters. In that viral example, the woman talked about how her dad always went above and beyond, making her smoothies, doing thoughtful things all the time, just showing constant care. It looked sweet on the surface, but she explained that it set a standard so high that she started expecting every man in her life to match that exact level of attention. And that's where things can get complicated, because real-life relationships don't always play out the same way. All right, now check this out, because this is where the conversation really starts to connect. There was another woman, this time Asian, who basically touched on the same idea the first woman was hinting at. Two completely different people, same type of message. And that got people paying attention real quick.
Yes, it's been hard, man, because her life has had to be played out in the public eye. People don't understand when, like you understand, you have an attractive daughter that's in the light. It'll attract a certain
Demographic of men.
Yeah, certain cat, man. And cats that's got more know that they got more to offer so they can come quicker. You know what I mean? So it's been difficult, man, watching her. But she's very smart. And everything they say online, I know is never true. I hate it for.
Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with being a great parent at all. Showing love, support, and giving your child opportunities is what any good parent would want to do. But the conversation shifts when people start looking at how that kind of upbringing might shape expectations later in life. When a father is constantly giving, providing, and going all out, it's coming from a place of love, not because anything is being exchanged. And that's where some say the disconnect can start. The argument people are making is this: someone outside of that family dynamic isn't always going to move the same way. Relationships usually involve mutual effort and both people showing up for each other. That difference in expectations can create tension if it's not understood on both sides. And this is where people start tying it back to Lori Harvey. From that point of view, they argue that her standards could be set extremely high because of the level of access, support, and guidance she's had around her. So when she meets someone, even someone as established as Michael B. Jordan, it might be easier for her to step away if things don't fully align with what she wants in that moment.
I can hear Steve now. What happened between y'all ain't nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like something he would say.
Facts. Last one. Crazy, just like a damn mama. Oh, raw.
Now, to be fair, every relationship is different, and there's always more going on beneath the surface than people can see. But this whole discussion definitely got people debating how upbringing, expectations, and real-world relationships all collide in situations like this. Now, here's another layer people started bringing into the conversation. Lori Harvey is widely seen as very attractive, and that naturally gives her a certain level of visibility and opportunity in the dating world. Meanwhile, some of the women in those viral clips were speaking from completely different experiences, which adds more contrast to the discussion. What they were really getting at is how tough things can feel when someone steps into the real world without the same kind of support system they were used to. When that constant backing isn't there anymore, expectations can clash hard with reality. And for some, it turns into this question of value. What do both people actually bring into a relationship? Some men online have been vocal about this, saying they're not trying to compete with anyone's father or live up to that kind of comparison. From their point of view, relationships are supposed to be mutual, not a situation where one person feels like they have to measure up to a whole different standard. And this opened up an even bigger conversation about preparation. A lot of families focus on education, careers, and building success, which is important. But some people argue that conversations around relationships, communication, and expectations don't always get the same attention. And to be fair, this isn't just one-sided. Both men and women can miss the mark here if those lessons aren't being learned early. Now, this is where the conversation really starts hitting both sides. There are plenty of men out there who are proud girl dads, super protective, extra supportive, and always showing love to the daughters. But at the same time, some of those same dads can be way tougher on their sons, setting completely different expectations depending on the child. Then frustration kicks in when another man doesn't treat their daughter the exact same way they did. But here's the reality people keep pointing out. Not every man is going to step in and treat someone else's daughter like a princess right away. Relationships don't usually work like that, and expecting it can create tension from the start. And to explain it better, people started using sports as an example. You might have a son who dominates in Little League or high school, getting praised nonstop, feeling like the top player every single time he steps on the field. But then college hits and suddenly it's different. Now he's surrounded by other top talent, and the coach isn't giving him that same special treatment. That's when reality checks hit hard. Now he has to compete for real, and if he's never faced that before, it can throw him off completely. Some even pointed to situations like Vince Young, where early success didn't always prepare someone for tougher moments later on.
I think that really applies to our situation, and we just have a really good time together. He's so sweet, very attentive, he listens to me, the things that I say that I want, and he really makes an effort. So I think that's
I
really,
just
really
love
special
the
about him.
relationship. What's the sexiest thing or the sweetest thing he's done for you?
Oh my goodness. I know. I honestly, he's really good at all the big things and, Valentine's Day, birthdays, all that. But, it's the little things, the everyday things that I think really is what makes him special.
And that's the bigger message people are debating. How important it is to balance support with real-world preparation so expectations don't crash later. So when you really step back and look at everything, the conversation isn't just about one person or one relationship. It's bigger than that. It's about how expectations get built over time and what happens when those expectations meet real-life situations that don't always match up. Because at the end of the day, relationships aren't just about what someone can give you. They're about connection, timing, effort, and how two people actually work together. And if someone is used to a certain level of treatment growing up, it could be hard not to carry that into adulthood without even realizing it. That doesn't make anyone right or wrong, but it does explain why certain situations play out the way they do. Some people move on quickly because they know what they want, while others are more focused on building something long-term, even if it takes time and compromise. And when you look back at everything with Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, it starts to make more sense why people are still talking about it. Not because anyone has all the answers, but because it taps into real questions about love, standards, and what people expect when they step into a relationship.
And that's why this situation keeps coming back up in conversations even long after the breakup. People aren't just focused on what happened, they're trying to understand why it happened and what it says about modern relationships overall. Because now you've got a generation where options feel unlimited, attention is constant, and walking away is easier than ever. The second something doesn't feel right, people are more willing to move on instead of working through it. And for some, that's seen as confidence, but for others, it raises questions about patience and long-term thinking.
We work out together. It's not my favorite thing to do because, you know, working out with this kid, the way his body looks, I want mine to look like that, and it's not there. So I wear a lot of sweatshirts and stuff, and I asked him to cover up. He came in there one day with a tank top on. I said, man, put your damn clothes.
At the same time, you can't ignore the fact that everyone's path is different. What looks like a missed opportunity to one person might feel like the right decision to someone else. And that's where the debate really splits. Was it walking away from something solid or simply choosing what felt right in that moment? So when people bring up names like Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, it's not just gossip. It turns into a bigger discussion about value, expectations, and how people decide who's worth staying for. And clearly, that conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon. And here's the part that really keeps people locked into this whole discussion. It forces a bigger question. What actually makes someone valuable in a relationship today? Because for some, it's status, success, and what a person is built. For others, it's loyalty, consistency, and how someone shows up when things aren't perfect. Michael B. Jordan represents one side of that conversation: discipline, focus, long-term vision, building something solid over time. Meanwhile, Lori Harvey represents a different kind of lifestyle: freedom, choice, moving how you want, and not feeling stuck in something that doesn't fully satisfy you. Neither perspective is simple, and that's why people keep going back and forth about it. Some are saying you don't walk away from something stable and proven, while others are saying you should never stay somewhere that doesn't feel right for you personally.
But I think she's figuring it out now, I hope, and I think she's learned from her mistakes like you want your children to learn from their mistakes. But she's an adult, and I don't get a say-so in it. I just get everybody come to the house is nice. Oh, man, Mr. Harvey, thank you so much for this opportunity. You're right. I can't say you're taking her to the prom if I catch you kissing her, because I already know they're kissing. So that can't.
And that's the real tension here. It's not just about two people. It's about two different mindsets clashing in real time. One side is thinking long-term investment, while the other is focused on personal happiness and flexibility. And until people start seeing eye to eye on those two ideas, situations like this are always going to spark debate, because everybody's definition of the right choice looks a little different. And this is where the conversation really starts to split into two sides even more. On one hand, you've got people saying stability, loyalty, and building something real should always come first. On the other hand, you've got people arguing that personal happiness and freedom should never be sacrificed just to keep something going.
Because let's be real, just because something looks perfect on the outside doesn't always mean it feels right on the inside. And in today's world, more people are choosing to listen to that inner feeling instead of staying in situations just because they check all the boxes. At the same time, others are looking at it like not everything is supposed to feel perfect all the time. Real relationships take work, patience, and sometimes pushing through moments that aren't exciting or easy. That's where the idea of long-term commitment really gets tested. So now you've got this constant back and forth. Do you stay and build, or do you move on and search for something that fits you better? And that question doesn't have one simple answer, which is exactly why stories like this keep people talking non-stop. And when you really zoom out, you start to see why this topic hits so many people personally. It's not just about celebrities anymore. It reflects what everyday relationships are starting to look like right now. People are moving with more options, more independence, and way less pressure to stay in something that doesn't feel right.
See, I gotta be real careful, because Lori, boy, she be in my I can't make no mistakes. I can't make sense. I saw one of her exes somewhere at a game somewhere, and I shook his hand. Boy, I can't even touch his.
Social media, status, and lifestyle all play a role in how people view relationships today, and that can shift priorities fast. What used to be considered settling down now sometimes feels like settling, depending on who you ask. At the same time, there's still a group of people who believe in sticking things out, building through the ups and downs, and creating something solid over time. They're looking at situations like this and thinking long-term, like what really matters years down the line, not just in the moment. So now you've got two completely different approaches happening at the same time. One side is focused on freedom and personal fulfillment, while the other is focused on stability and legacy. And until those two mindsets find some kind of balance, stories like this will always feel bigger than just two people breaking up. They turn into a whole reflection of how relationships are revolving right in front of us. And this is where things really start to hit a deeper level. Because now the question isn't just about who was right or wrong, it's about what people are actually prioritizing when they choose a partner. Some people are looking at relationships like an investment, something you build, grow, and protect over time no matter what. Others are treating it more like an experience. If it feels good, you stay, and if it doesn't, you move on without hesitation. And when those two mindsets cross paths, that's when things can fall apart fast. One person might be thinking long-term, while the other is focused on how things feel right now, and that mismatch can create problems even if both people have good intentions. That's why situations like Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey keep getting brought up. People see it as an example of what happens when expectations, timing, and priorities don't fully line up, even if everything looks perfect from the outside.
Okay, ignore my hair, but I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. I hate that I grew up spoiled because I'm not a hustler by any means. Like, I'm just used to asking for money and getting it. I don't know about this whole working
Man, in today's world, where people have more choices than ever, that gap between short-term happiness and long-term commitment is only getting wider. And until people figure out how to bridge that gap, these kinds of stories are gonna keep repeating themselves again and again. And this is where the reality really settles in, because no matter how much people debate this situation, one thing is clear: timing and alignment matter just as much as feelings do. You can have two successful people, both attractive, both respected, both doing everything right on paper, and it still doesn't work out. That's the part that catches people off guard, because it proves that relationships aren't just about status or what you bring to the table. Sometimes it really comes down to being on the same page at the same time. If one person is ready to build and lock in while the other is still exploring life and figuring things out, that gap can be hard to close no matter how strong the connection is. And that's why people keep revisiting this story. It's not just about what happened between Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey. It's about how often this exact situation plays out in real life, just without the cameras watching. So in the end, it leaves people with one big takeaway to think about. It's not always about finding the perfect person. It's about finding the right person at the right time, with the same mindset, the same goals, and the same vision moving forward. And this is where the conversation really comes full circle, because after everything people have said, debated, and broken down, it all points back to one thing: alignment is everything. Not just attraction, not just success, not just image, but real alignment in values, timing, and direction. Because without that, even the strongest looking situations can fall apart when pressure hits. That's why some people are looking at this like a lesson more than anything else. It shows that no matter how good something looks on the outside, if two people aren't fully locked in on the same page, it's only a matter of time before cracks start to show. And at the same time, it also shows how fast people are willing to move on in today's world. There's always another option, another opportunity, another path, and that can make it harder for people to stay grounded and build something long-term. So now the real question people are left with is simple but powerful. Are relationships today built to last, or are they built to feel good in the moment?
Having a great dad is amazing, but your standards are literally through the roof because your daddy already did it for you. One thing I also wanted to add to this is when you are looking for a man, make sure you are looking for a man that is willing to treat your daughter this way, because that is the way she's going to learn to be treated by other men she potentially dates in the future.
And until that question gets answered in real life, not just online, stories like this will keep repeating, keep sparking debate, and keep people trying to figure out what really matters when it comes to choosing the right person. And this is where a lot of the criticism starts coming in heavy. Some people are looking at situations like this and saying the bigger issue is expectations not being balanced on both sides. They point at Lori Harvey and feel like as time goes on, the dating pool shifts and choices don't always look the same as they once did. From that point of view, people keep bringing up Michael B. Jordan, saying that was a major opportunity that slipped away. And in their eyes, Steve Harvey played a role, not by doing something wrong directly, but by fully supporting her decision without pushing back or challenging it. Instead of saying, you might want to rethink this, he stood solid with her choice. Now, whether that's right or wrong is up for debate, but people believe he may look back at it differently today, seeing how things played out, especially with Michael B. Jordan continuing to level up while Lori Harvey is still figuring things out in her own way. At the end of the day, relationships have to work both ways. It can't just be about one person's needs being met. It has to feel balanced, where both people bring value and both people benefit from the connection. So what do you think about this whole situation? Was it a missed opportunity or just life playing out the way it was supposed to? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this with someone who needs to hear this conversation.